Hey, Pat and Doug here with another episode of the Wealthy Gym Owners. And today we're going to talk about how you can raise rates. We're going to talk about pricing psychology and how to raise rates and still keep your members. So, Doug, I know this is something we talk a lot with clients about. Our industry is kind of apprehensive sometimes to adjust their rates. So, get us started with this.
So I brainstormed this as an episode because I think it's probably one of the simplest. I'm not going to say easiest because I know it can be mentally pretty hard to set in action, but it's one of the simplest levers to growing your business, right? Because all of us, and I'm almost going to say almost 100% of the gyms that we talk to, and myself included, when we first started, we didn't have the confidence nor frankly the social proof to charge market value for what we do, right? And or knowledge, right? Like we didn't know. So what ends up happening over time, and everybody that has a gym knows this, is you have all these long-term clients that are paying lower rates. And you frankly, that's not a bad thing if they're not super low, because you certainly want to appreciate and express gratitude for their loyalty. But at some point, they do become the anchor that holds your business growth back. And so as far as where I start, the first thing we start with is let's hit the easy button and get new client pricing dialed in first, right? Because frankly, changing pricing for new people going forward is as simple as updating a graphic on your price sheet and updating the pricing in your software. There's nothing else that needs to be done. And so just ensuring that you're charging what you should be charging is certainly step number one for new people going forward. As far as what to charge real quick for that, the small group model, which I know many of our listeners run, in most markets, we want to be in that $40-ish per session range, right? So we're charging on a monthly or 4-week cycle, but when we break it down per session, we definitely want to be up in plus or minus $40 per session. Obviously, certain markets are going to be higher. I wouldn't say that there's a ton of markets that are less than that. And then semi-private, you're up usually in the 50 to 60, and large group, you're down below there. So I would start with getting your current pricing right first, just because that's the easiest lever to pull.
It's interesting. I remember I did an email on this, then a training on this at a live event called the Triple Threat Moneymaker. And it was, that's step one, right? Like, going forward, we've got better margins for anybody moving forward. They don't know what the prices were originally because they're new to us. So there's no friction there. And what's so awesome about that, I think, is really, it's all profit. It is absolutely all profit. And there are very few things in our business that you just tack on that there's no real downside. So that's step one, adjusting prices for new people coming in. And that's the easiest starting point for anybody listening to this that we could all probably do right now.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, what's step two then?
So step two for me, what I would recommend is, when you can use AI, ChatGPT to help you with this, I would pull a list of all your clients and what they're paying and dump it in there and figure out what your average client is paying, because that will give you a good understanding. You're going to have Susie that's been with you 10 years that's paying substantially less. And then you're going to have the client that just joined a month ago that's hopefully paying not significantly less. But you basically can figure out, okay, I want my average to be $350, but my current average is $300, right? So you can say, okay, that's a 15% difference, right? Whatever that shakes out to be. So that tells me how much I need to really bump everybody up, because you're not, unfortunately, unless you want to completely, the theme of this episode is not lose clients, right? So you can do it to the extreme where you take somebody that's paying 200 and they should be paying 350 and say, hey, we're going to double your price, but you're going to lose that person, right? To not lose somebody, you're probably going to need to stay with, on a drastic end, less than 20%, ideally incrementally 10% increases, right? So if you The key though is to figure out how much do I actually need to increase this to bring the average up, because that's what we want to base this off of. We can't look at the one or two clients that are paying X or the one or two clients that are paying Y. We need to look at this and say, we're a membership. Our revenue is based off of the average that somebody pays. So let's get that average up. So get a good pulse of what everybody's paying, and that helps you calculate percentage wise what you need to increase it.
Well, and I think that makes it a whole lot more palatable for owners, right? Because you do think about that person who came in on some early kind of founders type rate, and they are at 200, and now you're selling this at 375, 399, something like that. And you don't see any path to getting that person up there. And so you get nervous. You're like, hey, this person's been here forever. They're loyal. You rationalize it, and it's not inaccurate. So I think the approach that you just alluded to really resolves that. Hey, we're just trying to get this average number up. And so that means everybody pays a little bit more, but nobody gets this sticker shock.
Yeah. Yeah. So once you figure that out, and let's just say for sake of example, you need to increase everybody 15%. I'm a big fan of doing a personal memo, and it's a template, right? Like it's not you're handwriting a note to every client about the price increase. But rather than saying 15%, which can feel like a lot out of context, I am a big fan of writing a memo to each client, or at least each bucket of clients that maybe have different tiers of memberships, and essentially explaining in the memo why you're increasing pricing, which is almost exclusively the kind of angle that we take a lot with these letters when we help gyms write them, is for your team, right? Being able to afford a team or reinvest in your team, pay your team more, that usually is one of the biggest bottlenecks to growth. Is you have enough revenue to pay the bills, but you don't have enough revenue to pay for help. And so part of the reason, and almost in the beginning, the entire reason for doing a price increase, is to be able to invest more in your current team, give them more hours, hire more team. So I lean on that heavily in the letter as to the reason why. And then we simply break it down to per session, what it's increasing, right? That helps it just feel a lot easier. So rather than saying 15%, it might be that it's increasing $2 a session, $3 a session, right? So that feels just, it's an easier pill to swallow, and the clients totally understand it.
Yeah, I think that breaking things down to kind of that lowest denominator makes all the pricing stuff seem a whole lot more comfortable for people. And then it keeps things in context too, right? Like, I mean, would they have bought originally if something was $42 instead of 40? Sure. That was never going to be a barrier. And so if we think about that, because that's usually the part that I find people getting stuck on, is like, it's not that they won't pay more. We've never asked. And so if you kind of reverse it and say, well, do you think this person would have paid $42 a session instead of 40? The answer is almost always yes. Like, cool. Well, we're going to now ask them to pay $42 a session, and problem solved.
Yep. And the key is almost so obviously to finish the thought on the memo, certainly send that out electronically. We typically give like 30 to 45 days notice. So for example, I might send it out. We're recording this middle of November. I might say, hey, starting January 1, 2026, prices are going to increase. That way they get a little bit of notice, but you don't need to give 3-6 months notice, right? And as always, you're surprised that I always tell gym owners, you're going to get 5% that squawk. And frankly, in my experience, even the 5% that squawk don't leave. There's always the 5% that just like to squawk. They like to vent. They just want to be heard. They just want to let it out, and you listen and acknowledge it. But we really lean into this is to continue to have a healthy business and continue to be here and have a good team for you. And the nice thing is, there's, especially in the current marketplace, unfortunately, everything else around them is also increasing. And so it's not a surprise, right? It's not a surprise that anything's increasing. So That's how I would communicate this to clients.
Yeah. So one thing that I'll mention, it's interesting how I think my perspective on this has evolved a little bit. So when we did the triple threat moneymaker, if you will, those two were two of the legs of this. The third leg was just lock in your current rate and try to get people to commit for like a 12-month membership or something like that. But in today's landscape, I don't know that I feel like that's nearly as strong a play. I mean, because usually the people needing to do this price increase are so far behind where they need to be market wise that it's not helping them. I understand the security associated with, okay, I've got this person for 12 more months, but 12 more months of underpaying isn't necessarily a win to do the things that you want to do. So I think that's important. And I also think that that's a testament to how maybe the industry has evolved a little bit, because at that point, back then, so many people were just shifting to recurring billing, and that was a good lever to get them to do it. But now that 95% of the industry does that, I think you can eliminate that leg and just focus on these two.
Yeah, for sure. I would agree with that. It's better to kind of bite the bullet now and get them up. And that leads to my next point, which is many of us have gone several years without increasing pricing. And so I think a good standard, and a lot of our boardroom clients have adopted this, which frankly I love, and I wish I did it years ago, because I too did the let's grandfather people and let's not increase it for years and years, and now all of a sudden you got to increase it a lot, and that makes it sting. So to continue pace of really the economy and just business in general, I recommend just doing this once a year like clockwork, right? Just build it as part of the culture that every year, that way it doesn't have to go up as much, and it's a little bit easier to have a conversation with clients about, and it just becomes expectation that this is the norm here, and due to continued, everything else is getting more expensive, and so we're gonna notch it up a little bit. And again, the nice thing is you're notching it up $1 or $2 a session, 10 or 20 bucks a bill cycle. So it's when you extrapolate that out, it's a lot for you, for the business, as far as a benefit, but to that client, all of us are not going to bat an eye at 10 or 20 more bucks if we're paying already 300, 350.
Yeah. So in my opinion, and tell me what your thoughts are on this, like if you drug your feet on this and you're actually listening to this episode pretty close to when we record it, and like you mentioned, we're kind of mid-November, we're probably in a pretty decent spot to announce something, because January is a great time. People are going to be, their usage is going to be higher in that first quarter than it is probably in many, if not all, the other quarters. So making that price adjustment, announcing it now and telling them that it's effective in January is a surefire way to probably give yourself a little bit of a profit increase.
Yeah, for sure. 100% agree. This is like there's not a perfect time to do this, but if I were to pick one, this would be it, because you can, people are not, the pain isn't as bad because they're saying, oh, it's not till the new year, and you can get it in as far as the communication, right? You can get that message to them before the holidays. So it kind of gets delivered before the holidays and then doesn't take effect till after the holidays. So perfect win-win there.
Nice. Well, I mean, I think this was a really valuable and really tactical episode, which hopefully if you're watching this, listening to this, you're taking some notes and then you're ready to go plug this in pretty much immediately. So that's it. Pricing psychology and raising your rates. Another episode of the Wealthy Gym Owners, signing off.